So last time on our high resolution model here, we did a color map, and I'm going to show you some other ways to kind of create color maps that are kind of game industry ways of doing stuff. But this is our color map, and which is again this is our high res, right? Well, you might be like, well, that's not really that high resolution. I'm used to seeing models and games that are like thousands and thousands of polygons, but this is just for demonstration purposes, just so you know. So let's see here. This is our Unity level here. We don't have our texture map in there, but just to kind of give you a reminder of where it essentially is going, right? I'm going to hit F to focus here. So the next thing we want to do is we want to fake the color information and the height information into one small map. So you can see we haven't even updated it yet. So actually, let's do that first. Let's get a little update in here. And you want to kind of do that periodically when you're working. So I'm going to go back into Blender really quick, and let's jump in and re-export. All right, so here we are in Blender. I'm going to do File, Export, and then FBX. And I'm going to navigate to my desktop, and I believe it was Environment Alias, and then this is our beach house. I forget which version that one is in levels. Let's do Beach House 01, and I'll do just do everything instead of selected object, because when we brought it in last time, we selected merge as one object as the thing, as one of the options inside of Unreal. So I'm gonna hit overwrite. Let's see. Let's jump back in Unreal. You can see it's already asking to import, and yeah, let's jump into Unreal and see what we get. Here we are. I'm gonna go ahead and hit import here, and it's okay. I'm gonna hit alright, and there we go. Yeah, so it was the 01. Now you might be wondering, well, where's my texture? And that's going to be a separate video where we actually go in here and we set up our texture map here, for these different pieces, for the window and so forth. But for now, I just want to show you, like, it does still update, and our house is looking cooler and cooler if we press play here. And I don't remember if in a video I didn't rotate, but all I did is I took my player start here and I rotated it 180 degrees. So every time I start the game, it's facing the house. And so that we can, kind of like gameplay wise, just sort of, if this was like a scary game or something, but whatever, but it just draws our players' attention right away to the area of interest, which is like, I want this detective robot character here to investigate that house or something. All right, so let's jump back into Blender and let's talk about something called normal maps. All right, so with that in mind, I'm going to select both of these. And let's see, Shift H, and that way we have our window and our window low here, just these two visible. And what I want to do, let me hide my window low so you can see the blue, is I want to take this information here. Remember, we kind of beveled these edges here. I want to take this information and I want to make this flat plane here, this window low, look like that. And that requires this process called baking or texture baking. And let's actually just name this window high. So I'm just going to double click that and then window high, just so that we can remember the order that we have selected. So baking will take all of this texture information, and the color is a texture, and then faking height information is something called a normal map, and it'll put them into individual 2D images. But we need to actually construct the 2D images on our low here. So an easier way of doing this, so let's hide this, is let's go to our window low here, and it looks like we have a high and we have a low material that we made before. And the first thing I want to do is under base color here is I want to create an image texture for the base color. That's what's going to be the yellow and the blue. So I'm going to click this little dot here, go down to image texture, and that will create a new field here. And by default, it's going to make it black. And then I want to click new here. And I want to name this, because we're going to have more than just this window on here, we want to name this assets. So I'll do BH underscore assets for my texture. And this will be underscore, you could name it albedo or color. It just depends on the studio that you're in. And then for the image, I'll just kind of make it like a light blue. And then I'll hit new image. And you could see for my low texture, it actually applied a flat image. We just need to save it. So let's go over to texture paint here. And let's save this off. So under image here, you can see BH underscore assets color. I'm going to go to image and I'm going to go to save. And the place I want to save it is I want to make sure that in our desktop here, we're going to save this inside of our environment alias or your shortcut. We could always drag these in. I'm hoping that it doesn't become an issue because you have to, in Windows, you have to right click, send to compress short, send to create folder. But I'll see if I can find a video online that someone else made. Or when I can jump on my PC, I'll make it for you. This is just on how to make folders on your desktop. So anyway, in this content art environment folder for Unreal, I'm just going to save this image as BHA assets color. So I'm going to hit save image. Now what I want to do is I'm going to show you, let's go back to layout, and I want to hit Z and make sure I'm in material preview. I'm going to bake out the color map first and then that normal map I keep talking about. So here we have window high first, the high, and I'm going to hold command or control, and then I'm going to select my window low after. And what's it called? My window low after. And then what I want to do is, let me go ahead and hit import here, just to let it import inside that texture. Sorry, I didn't want to just kind of hang it out. Was imported as a normal map. I don't think it should have been imported as a normal map. But we'll have to fix that later. So anyway, probably because it saw a lot of the blue with the yellow, it kind of got confused. But anyway, let's go back to art. I just want to show you that it showed up in there. So that's our BHS assets color. Oh, there's the blue. Yeah, so it thought it was a normal map, but we could always fix that. All right, let's go back to Blender. Sorry about that little derailing. And by selecting our high to low, then we want to go over here, which is our rendering option, and we want to change it from EV to cycles. And this is what opens up this option here, which is the bake option. Okay, so here's the bake option, and I want to go down to selected to active. And then under extrusion, an extrusion is like from this window low, there's like a little, we want to know how far out we should look to look for this color or this height information. So I usually go pretty low at first and then I crank it up because otherwise if we go too high, it could grab information outside of this, like pretty far out. So anyway, with both those selected, you can see I have bake on. I'm just going to leave all of these options. And then all you do, again, you want to have your high selected and then hold control and select your low. It should always be the high first, then the low. I'm going to go ahead and hit bake. And then down at the bottom, you could see it has a number system. So if let's see, if I get rid of my high here and I have my low, you could see it did bake it, but it's super dark and it didn't go out as far as I'd like. So the trick for all of this is, one, select your high, and we want to change it into something called a emissive map. So let's go to our material here, go up to the top, change it from principal PDS to emission. So what emission is, it's a self-glowing texture. So now you can see it's like glowing really bright. And then in here, I go back to color, I select image texture, and then I select that beach house asset. And now you can see I'm only seeing the color information. Don't worry, it is going to look like this on our low, but you're like, well, where's the height information? Don't worry, we'll get to that with the normal map. So let's do this one more time. I'm going to select the high and I'm going to select the low. Now I'm going to go back over here to render properties. And because it didn't really get to all that yellow, under bake here, look for selected to active. And then let's make this 0.05. And then let's hit bake again. Give it a second to bake that out. And you can see it's starting to show more of that. So if we hide our high, it looks like, let's see, it's slowly getting there. And on our low, actually, I think we need to, let's go to UV editing here. The problem is this face, the side face is at the bottom. Where did our unwrap go? Oh, we never unwrapped our low. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that too. That's like it's good that we caught that mess up. So let's go to UV editing here. And I'm gonna just select this right side of the face and I'm gonna delete that because we really are only concerned with this. We're gonna flip this. And then I'm gonna hit U and then unwrap angle based. Now, because I plan on putting a bunch of assets on here, not just the window, I'm gonna hit S to scale this down. And I'm gonna put this little 2D representation of the window just in the corner. And what I might do is, let's see, image, let's hit resize. And right now it's at 1024. Because I plan to put a bunch of assets on here, let's go a little bit bigger. And when it comes to texturing, you want to use multiples of essentially 2. So here's 4096, and let's make this 4096. and then I'm going to hit resize. Now it's a much bigger image. So now that that's like that, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I hit file save. And then let's go back to layout and let's select our window high again and our window low, and let's hit bake. And we might have to crank this up even higher depending on if we don't get any um, the yellow color information in there. Like zero point 0.5 seems to have only reached that little edge. We want to go all the way out so all of it is yellow. And let's go ahead and hide our high. Yeah, see that? So let's go ahead, just for the heck of it, let's take this all the way up to 0.1, and then I'm going to do it again. So it's kind of a guessing game a little bit because I can't see it unless you use this cage option. I can't see how far out it's reading that texture information. And I think it's good that we're incrementally doing it because it's helping you to understand how this extrusion works, right? Extruding out from, do you see this little red arrow? How far out should we go to read this color information? And that's a little bit of a guessing game, especially, oh, there we go. That looked actually like it did a pretty good job. So there we go. Now, the next thing I want to show you how to do is do a normal map. But I want to show you, instead of just plugging an image texture into our Lowe's normal slot, which is, let's see, we have our diffuse, specular, code, emission, displacement. Let's see. I'd have to look to see where, because normally I do it this other way for pretty much both. Let me show you the other way, and then I need to go back and show you where the normal slot is, which is generally, yeah. Well, let me show you essentially the way that. Why is my eye? Oh, there it's normal. Jeez, there's my. So instead of just selecting an image texture inside of here, I want to show you the other way that you'll notice. Even if you watch a lot of tutorials, they tend to use the a node-based shader system to do it. So let's go to View here, or click our little clock here, and then what I want to do is I want to go to the shader editor here. And now you can see this is a node-based representation. And this is similar to what you're going to be using in Unreal. And if you've taken the other environment class with me or level class, we use this a little bit inside of Unity. And you could see here that this principal BSDF here it's matching a lot of the same setup, right? Including this little normal map slot. And what I want to do here is I'd like to do another image texture inside my normal to bake that out. So I'm going to hit Shift A, and that opens up the search option. And I'm just going to type image, and that brings up an image texture. You could also duplicate that, but it's good to start with a new one. And then for the color area, I'm just going to drop that and connect that to the normal. I want to create a new texture here for that. Same thing, 4096. Oh no, sorry. This is just going to be called BH_assets_normal map. And then I'm going to make this 4096. And I want to make this 4096. And I'm going to click New Image. Now, let's do a couple things. One, let's jump back over to our texture paint. And instead of our BHS asset here, I'm going to click this little arrow here and select this asset here. And not the high, but the color map that we created earlier. And I want to make sure that I save it. And then let's double check that that transferred over. Let's undo that little line I made. So I'm going to pause the video, jump back in Unreal. Here we are in Unreal. Let's go ahead and hit import. There we go. Our image looks a lot better now. And now it's registering it as texture 2D. So that looks pretty good. And let's see. Let's go ahead and make the normal map. So I'm going to pause the video, jump back into Blender, and make the normal map. And then I'll show you how to set all of that up for our window. All right, so the next thing we need to do is bake out our normal map. So let's go to layout, and then we're gonna select our window high, and I'm gonna hold Control again and select my window low, and then I want to go back to this renderer tab, and this time we're gonna change some of our bake settings. Instead of bake type combined, I'm gonna do normal, and then what I want to do is just hit bake, and I think I can hide this high just for a moment. And now you could see this is our low resolution texture, right? So I want to show you something. So if I do, if I just kind of grab my low and let's do layout, and I move this over to the side here, you can see this is a flat plane, but it has some faked height information. So this is actually our, like if I hit Z and I go to solid, this is just a plane. But if I go to material preview here, you can see this is our texture. And if I bring up my high here and I change this back to a, well, let's just hit Z and then solid. There's our high resolution. And if I go to material preview, you can see this is our low with our normal map. And even if I go to rendering here and I add a light, so let's actually change this back just for the sake of, because we're pretty much done with this at this point. We're going to be doing a lot higher resolution models from here. Let's change this back to principal uh, BSDF, and then I want to add back an image texture just so you could see them both. Image texture, and I'm going to find that this texture here. I'm going to grab a light, so I'm going to hit Shift A here, and I want to add a point light. Here's my light. I want to add a point light here. And then where is my point light? There it is. Okay, so I'm going to move this up, and I want to move this in front of the window. Look at how it's faking geometry. Do you see that? Let me change this back to EV. It's a little bit faster for rendering. And then for my lighting settings, let me crank this up a little bit. But look at this. As I move my light across that texture, do you see how this faked geometry through the normal map is reacting? So it looks, if we look at it straight on, this is reacting or it's behaving like it's this thing. And this is more performant because we don't have all this extra geometry, these cuts. It's just one flat plane. And that's the power behind a normal map. And so we're going to be using it, looking at how we could use this everywhere. And I'm actually going to, in probably the next video, I'll show you how my characters also use normal maps. All right, so let's delete this. And let's go back to material preview. And at this point, I can pretty much just delete this. So I'm going to hit Z. Oh, actually, that's not, I can't delete it because it looks like it didn't catch this one, which is much further out. So let me move this just right back here. Right back, so it's sitting just below it. And then for this, I want to bake it out one more time because this is really far out there. I'm going to hit Tab, Edit Mode, and just select that front face and push it in a little bit. And so I want to select I want to go back up here and let's see. Let's make sure this is again on emission. So let me go back to my material here. Change this back to emission. Under color here, image texture. I want to select this texture here. And then for my high to low, I'm going to rebake this. So let's go back to rendering here. Let's see, where's our renderer? Right here. And then I want to select that back to cycles. And instead of normal map here, I'm going to do combined. And let's try that one more time. Where I go ahead and hit bake. All right, so let me make sure that was sitting right on it. Let me see my low. Well, let's just check out how it looks. So I'm going to hide my high here. And it looks like we're still not catching that. So I might have to go, I think at this point, because there isn't anything else that could catch it, if I just crank that up to 1, I don't think I'll have many issues with the bake. So here's this to this, bake, let it bake out. And I might do the same thing for the normal map, to be honest with you, because I'm guessing that if it didn't catch the color information here, it didn't catch my normal. Interesting. Why is it not? Is it just not enough space, or is this too far out? I mean, we could try 3. Just pretty. I don't know if I've ever baked anything that high to 3. Let's try that. And I'll pause the video at this point. I'm not going to force you to watch the bake process. All right, I want to specify something. If I jump back into texture paint, it actually did bake that. It's just for some reason inside of this layout, it didn't update. So just be conscious of that as you're working, that for some reason this texture didn't update. So let's go back in here. I'm going to do image. I'm going to save it. And let's make sure actually this is, here's our normal. And then let's go back, make sure it's on our color. And let's do image save. And then let's switch back to our normal and rebake that, because it looks like it actually, I was baking the whole time on my normal. I should have been on my color. So that's the issue right there. Do you see that? So let's make sure that we're on the proper map. That's the color map here because I switched it to normal and I was baking all that information on the normal map. Um, so again, select high, select low, and again, as a human being, I'm leaving this in there to not so that you guys can see that even I'm making like little subtle mistakes, and I've been doing this using this program for gosh since probably 2007. So it's been a long time. So anyway, back to our rendering tab. We got cycles. Let's go to bake, high, then low, then bake. And this time on our color map, once it's finished, let's go back to our layout here. Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily that it wasn't updating. It was I just had a normal map on. So when I jump back to texture paint now, you could see this is the why is it saying normal here? Should be on color. Come on. Let's make sure we're on color here. High and then low. And I need you to bake the color map here, please. I think I know what the issue is. It's because we have our normal map selected here. We have to have this selected here. And now when we go to texture paint, it selected it. So that's what was kind of causing the issue. So let's bake that. Make sure this is selected, your color here. Let this bake out. All right, now when I go to texture paint, you can see color and color. So let's go back to layout. Let's select our normal map here. Then switch this to normal map instead of combined to normal. Let's go back to texture paint. Make sure it's selected normal here. And now you can see it's baked the color information, which is what we don't want. We want to bake the normal map information. Let's hit bake here. And then now we should get the normal map that we want. There we go. See that beautiful normal map? Now let's save this. I want to make sure that it's in the same folder as that environment. All right. One more step. We've baked out the maps. I'm going to go ahead and take my high here. I'm going to delete it. And then I'm going to, with this selected, hit Alt or Option H to bring everything back. All right, so let's go ahead and duplicate this so that we have it. The problem is if we just hit Shift D and copy it now, you're just going to get a copy. So what I'm going to just use is the mirror modifier. So add modifier mirror. And the place I want to mirror is actually the object itself. And we want to do it across the X. And where's my mirror? Let's see, here's a cube, top. Come on. There we go. Let's do it across the Y. Sorry, that's our Y axis. So now what we get is I was selecting, I had X on for axis, but we want to select Y. Now you have your mirror. All right, so let's go ahead and save our Blender file. And let's go ahead and export all of this out. So I'm going to make sure that I first go to texture paint. Again, save, switch to my color here, save that. And then let's do file, export, FBX, and let's go to our Beach House 01. I'll probably have to delete this other one. And then hit override. And let's go back to essentially let's go back to Unreal and import everything in. All right, here we are. You can see we have our old high-res window there. I'm just going to hit import. And I'll hit OK. And it's all imported. I'll hit OK here. And it looks like it registered that as a normal map, which is good. And then it registered this as a color map. So this video got very long, and we had a lot of back and forth, which is part of the development process. What we'll do in the next video is we'll take a look at how to set up the material for our house.